So Mark, what you got?
Like many of you, attending the State of the Schools presentation was very eye-opening, particularly the number of business folks and people in the community that are involved in education in a peripheral way. The seating was limited, and we had a good cross-section of the community, and I thought that was very good. And also the fact that all the presentations focused on what's going on in the classroom, because as we all know, the magic happens in the classroom between the teacher and the students. And to see the great strides that are being made in the district through the efforts of our teachers is really eye-opening. The other thing that was interesting was attending the PTA principals and presidents meeting. It was interesting to me that the PTA president talked about the great volunteerism that is in the PTA organization as a whole. And even though there's been a change in the community, the volunteerism has not suffered. In fact, it's increased. And my hat's off to the parents, particularly moms, who are not only helping raising a family, but also have a job, which is unlike anything that the district had before. Usually there was a large percentage of stay-at-home moms. Because of the situation in the country, moms are working more and more. And to see the fact that these mothers hold it so important to also participate in our schools through PTA and other organizations is really great. And I think that's one of the main strengths that the city has in our school system. And then lastly, speaking of volunteers, I can't think of another school district that has people like Dr. Stauffer and particularly Daryl Jackson, who is taking on helping the kids that need it the most at a critical time. Daryl has done a great job for our district. We would not be the same school district if we didn't have Daryl Jackson working with the kids at risk. So hats off to them. That's all.
Thank you. Todd, your turn.
Thank you. We received in our Thursday packet the annual report from the district. And I know this is a ton of work for each of the departments, all the directors and the assistant superintendents, etc. But it is really interesting to document all the things that are going on in our district. And this does it, and every year, and I've saved them for each year that I've been on the board and received them. And I mean, it's really amazing that we're able to do all these things. And I really appreciate all the time it took to write this up. Also, they mentioned the City and Schools Committee that we reinstituted. We had our first meeting. We decided we were going to meet 2 to 3 times a year and talk about issues. We have a collaborative arrangement with the Downey High School pool, but there are a lot of other collaborative things that we can be doing. And we talked about after-school programs and child care programs and things like that that we will aspire as a coordination with the city and the schools also, but there's a lot more that we can do, and I think that it was very positive having a couple of council people and the staffs of both the schools and the city there, and you'll be hearing more, I'm sure. We have a small committee that meets with them. Also, the state of the schools, other people have mentioned it already. I was so proud after the state of the schools. So many different people this last week in the weekend in the community have come up to me and told me that about different things that they picked up on and it made me so proud to be part of the school district. It was really amazing.
Did they say what cute baby you were?
Yes. They actually, I said, well, I think one of the improvements we could make is have shorter introductions of school board members, and they said, no, that was really interesting. Nancy did a great job, and so they really, I was really kind of playing on that, and they said, no, that was a good use of time was to do that. So,
I just, you're doing
What about our
We don't, the rest
concerns?
of us know how to use scanners.
Yeah.
What about our concerns?
All right, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Gigi, what you got going?
First of all, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the parents for attending. It was great to have the students perform tonight from Downey High, as well as seeing the striking Vikings, seeing where our money and everything's going to for their futures. And there is a wide variety of kids from all levels, from all grades there. Thank you for everybody involved with the state of the schools. Dr. Steve did a great job. Thank you, Jennifer and Ashley. And we have an outstanding district. It's not just the teachers in the classroom, our amazing students, but our cabinet, all of our administrators and directors. It takes the team on board. So, and also it was great to see many community members there, businesses, parents. It was from a variety. It was the Downey community there to support our Downey schools. We had our PTA breakfast that was shared, and a special congratulations to Imperial, Sussman, and Warren for achieving the highest percentage of memberships. And also that was something that was neat. There was the Downey Symphony was represented there, and they gave free tickets for, they gave 2 free tickets for each PTA at our schools to encourage music for them to attend the symphony. The first symphony of the season is next 2 weeks, October 19th. They also give 15% discount to all DUSD teachers, and they give a free ticket for all middle school students and for the parents to attend one show or both shows. So I thought that was very encouraging, and hopefully down the road we could include music back into our classroom starting at a young age in TK.
And if you don't mind me interrupting, I wanted to mention if you're interested in those tickets, you need to go to the box office, which is open I think every day, and get those tickets, not the night.
Okay, thank you. Very good. And also to add on to what Mr. Morris was saying, and also fathers are very much involved with PTA also. I'm involved in PTA at Rose and Gabriel and Carpenter, running around back and forth, and it's great to see a diverse group there also.
Thank you for that correction.
The deaf and hard of hearing site visit was pretty amazing. It's one of the top visits I've been able to encounter. I learned so much. Their use of the technology, and really appreciate how the school environment just accepts them. They're able to connect with their peers, and they're very involved in assemblies and everything. They're normal students, and
We've got 2 football players.
yes, yeah, football players. Yeah, and we even had some adults, and then one of them even gave us some like butterflies. So it was very, very nice. Let's see what else I have. I also attended the Wellness Fair at Columbus High, another great community event. A lot of people got their flu shots there. They were encouraging me too, but I was scared at that moment. I passed that one.
Got to work up to that, huh?
Yes, yes. And also the Warren Band had their open house, which was a pretty neat experience. I took my oldest son there, and he was able to march out in the field. He tried on the drums. The kids were teaching him how to play the xylophone and the keyboard, and they were pretty phenomenal. And I think that's it for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Don? Hit it.
I thought you were 6.
No, I wrote his name down so I would forget him.
By the way, the reason they have huddles is from Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., which is a university for deaf students. They had to huddle up so they could talk with sign language.
Oh,
That was the, that's where football huddles came from. As the regional director for the California School Boards Association, I had the opportunity to show our association president, Dr. Emma Turner from Spring Valley La Mesa School District in San Diego around Region 24, which extends from Santa Monica through over around and through Whittier, with Beverly Hills thrown in. And I brought her obviously to Downey Unified for a couple of things. I had the opportunity to see the Warren High School Culinary Arts Program, and probably the only food truck in the state of California with an exempt license plate. And the Downey High Robotics. Glenn was very good at simply handing us over to the students to do the tour. Dr. Turner was very impressed with what we were doing, the innovative things that are happening, and the fact that the students were the ones giving that part of the tour. Governor has signed the school bond to go on the March 2020 ballot, a $15 billion school bond, of which $9 billion will go to K-12 education if it's passed. And then there's money for the UCs, CSUs, community colleges. And the governor has not yet, as of the last I just looked at my phone to see if we had any action yet on SB 328, the late start bill. He seems to be holding that one to the end, so I don't know whether that means he's going to sign it at the last second and just slide it along, or veto it at the last second. Last year it was the School Boards Association that put the pressure on. This year it's CTA. So we'll see how he responds. Although the governor is on record as saying he was at least initially favorably disposed, but we'll see how it plays out with the input from CTA.
CTA and the School Board Association are against it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, because it's just another example of local control being taken away by our friends in Sacramento who think they know better.
Who are not educators. Right.
Is that it, Don?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Ms. Swenson. So, quite a few things going on. I know some of you covered some of the other things. Ms. Samperi and Ms. Corin, the City School Committee, thought it was a really good meeting. Really good to start some dialogue after a lot of years. We have a lot of common things that we are working on. So, been in touch with the city manager just kind of based on some follow-up items and that kind of thing. We're both kind of trying to get some clarification. So we'll send the notes out as soon as those are done in the next week or so. The minutes out from that to all of you. Really do. I appreciate, was real happy with the way that State of the Schools went this year. Just had a real nice vibe to it. So really appreciate all of your thoughts on that. But clearly, so many people that really work ahead of time behind the scenes. First and foremost, Ashley Green, our public relations coordinator, puts a ton of effort into that. Just does a great job every single year. She does that with support of Jennifer Bosey in the office, and they kind of work everything. And there's a lot of organization to throw in a breakfast meeting that starts at 7 a.m. for 350 people. So, but also want to recognize some other, in addition to Ashley and Jennifer, really want to recognize, I think she's not here anymore, but Jennifer Toledo, who led our activity. She worked with Ashley on that. Every year we do an activity show the community this is what's happening with our kids. This year's activity was wonderful with the robots at the elementary level. And then also just some folks from not only the morning up, but really the day before setup. Jim Mogan, I want to recognize Jim. Thank Jim for his support, setting up all the tables, all those kind of things. Want to thank Anna Thorne, definitely for working the day before, and then also Danny from our certificated personnel office supported as well. So really appreciate their efforts as well. Really want to commend Ms. Swenson. I mean, getting those baby pictures was a stroke of genius. Very nice. And then also Rose, that's okay. So is next year, right? So, and also really want to commend Rose Zeisel. She didn't give the same speech this evening that she gave that, but I just thought her speech was absolutely wonderful as a product of Downey Schools, someone who grew up in our community, had a great story about her father here immigrating from Cuba and the struggles that he went through to get her family here, and really continuing to give back to this community that she grew up in. Struck a familiar chord with me, having grown up in this community and having the privilege to work for this school district now. So really commend Rose. And then also want to commend our colleagues at Warren High School as well for the award that we talked about earlier. So we are continuing to work on making sure that our students are filling out that free application for federal student aid. It's really an important piece. No matter what you want to do, kids going to college or trade school or whatever it is, that federal aid can be very helpful. So Downey in the state was, Warren was number 3, Downey was number 4, and there are 2 schools ahead of us, and it won't be long before we overtake them as well. So really excited. It's just a really important piece to continue to work through at our schools. Next week, we have, on October 14th, we have a professional development day, and so our students, our middle schools are going to do a middle school tech fest. Really want to commend our our instructional technology coaches, and Dr. Birch and Dr. Brosmer and their staff. So you can see the sessions here. That's just a one-day training given by Downey teachers for Downey teachers at the middle school level. Really, really excited about this day next week, and so looking forward to that. And then our elementaries will be continuing to work on things as well. So a few other just kind of points of information. Had a meeting last week with the folks from Caltrans and Parsons, which are the project that's working on widening not only the 605 freeway, but the 5 freeway between the 605 and probably Paramount Boulevard. There's a lot to that. That's coming in the future down the pike in the next 5 to 7 years, but all the planning is going on now, and so they're looking. We happen to have a school right on the north side of that. The city has a park on the south side of it, so they're trying to figure out, okay, which direction they want to go. So continue to keep people posted with that. Again, the planning phases are still, going on right now, but that project they're hoping to start construction in 5 or 6 years. So I know that sounds like a long time, but when you're widening a freeway, that's really the blink of an eye. And then just a couple of last ones. Want to congratulate our True Lasting Connections, TLC. They made on Telemundo last week. They were on a show called Pizarron, which is really just kind of highlighting the TLC program and the social services. So TLC is obviously our social services wing for the district. They support our families psychologically, emotionally, and just with basic needs oftentimes serve about 12 to 1,500 families a year. And so that was featured on Telemundo last week. Really, really proud of our TLC program. And then lastly, another one of our students making headlines. It was on our social media last week. Our student from Downey High School, Diana May Abalascao. She's one of the key wins over there. She's the president of the Thirst Project. She was honored about a week and a half ago at a celebrity gala with Adam Sandler and Bryce Dallas Howard and quite a few other celebrities on the Thirst Project as one of the, and I want to make sure I get this title. She was receiving the Power of Youth Award as the top student humanitarian leader in the United States. So one of our students from Downey High School got that. Yeah, our kids are amazing, our families are amazing. What this community does for our schools, we really, really appreciate it. But this is the kind of thing that we're doing in our schools. Real excited for Diana. So they're going to be meeting, they scheduled a meeting to come meet with me in a week or so to kind of talk about that project and how we continue to support it, a group of our students from Downey High School. So, yep. Oh, of course, absolutely. We'll aim for the November Board of Education meeting. When I meet with them next week, I'll see if they're available. Okay?
With all due respect, we would like to know if you're gonna take in consideration all a lot of concerns as parents.
Are you talking about the public comment piece?
No. We are the same. You guys are talking about everything, but not what we are concerned. It isn't respectful.
Yeah,
not even comments.
I appreciate
nothing
it.
like
The Board of Education. So, Miss Swenson, can you read that part again, please? I want you to understand that there's a law in California called the Brown Act, and the Board of Education, because the board is in an agendized session. They have rules that they have to follow under the Brown Act. And so I want Ms. Swenson, she read this at the beginning of the public comments, and I want her to read this again because it's an important piece, and I'm sorry. We didn't understand that that's why you were waiting around for this, otherwise we would have clarified this earlier. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
No, but yes, my concern is if you will, like as you try to solve all the other issues before, we would like, as a concerned parent, if it's gonna be any consideration to help us in
dealing with the teen talk.
I understand. So they referred it to staff to continue to look into, but again,
We didn't hear that. That's why.
so we'll continue to evaluate it. It's already been adopted at last month's meeting, but
It needs to be
obviously
repealed.
You shared some information tonight that the board directs us to continue to evaluate those things, and so we will evaluate those things.
Can't you bring back an agenda item to look at this? Because we want to make
We're not
that.
committing to that. We're not
Okay,
committing
why
to
not?
that.
You should.
So, Ms.
Okay,
Watson,
this is.
If you can share the rules.
Okay, board action may not legally be taken on any item not specifically listed on the agenda. Members of the board are very limited in their response to statements or questions by persons commenting on items not on the agenda. Board members may only ask clarifying questions, make a brief announcement, refer a matter to staff or other resources for information, request that a staff report back on the matter at a subsequent meeting,
exactly,
or direct staff to place the matter on a future agenda.
Exactly. That's what you need to do. So, and that's something you can do publicly.
I want to thank you that you listened to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Why aren't you doing that?
So-
Bring back an agenda item to deal with this.
With the agenda?
With our.
Bring an agenda item to deal with Teen Talk.
To the next, we'll work for the November meeting, Ms. Winston.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to put that on the agenda for November to deal with the Teen Talk.
We're talking about the student that we, that.
Okay, but
was
what about
recognized
this issue?
So, thank
Okay.
you.
No,
All right.
we're not asking
What
for that.
about our concerns?
Okay, but what about the parents, what they've talked about? This is the second week now. Ma'am?
This is ridiculous, and we can hear
I'm going to
anything
move on
about
right now with the rest of the agenda. So we have consent agenda.
Exactly, that we're concerned.
Okay.
Tell us where should we go?
Okay, this program needs to be stopped, and we've gotten a lot of people who've spoken against it in the community. Okay, at the very least, you need to bring an agenda item back so this can be discussed.
I'll take a point of order. We're not gonna listen to the audience trying to.
Oh, we're gonna listen.
Whoa!
We're gonna support you.
So what?
And we don't need to bring it back.
Okay, no, yes, you do.
Be quiet. You already had your turn.
Okay, you work for us. We don't work for you.
You work for the citizens of Downey.
Oh, thank you. Raise your hand.
Hold on.
That's not people. Come on, do you know me?
Unless there's a majority of the board that wants to bring it back and makes a motion.
Let's do it.
Go on with the agenda.
Right. We're not making that a motion at this time.
Because they don't care. You
So
had a
we're gonna,
chance to stop it last time and you didn't.
We're going to keep going with our consent agenda.
Okay, so
So please, you had your time to talk during public comments.
Okay.
It's not the time.
This is the
Thank you
hottest
very much
topic
for coming.
tonight and you're not paying attention.
you ignored it. Okay, you need to bring an agenda item back.
If you're gonna ignore us,
So do
we're
you
gonna
think,
we're gonna
so you think that shouting right now is going to help?
Well, you're not listening now.
Shouting right now is
We're
going to
not
help?
doing anything.
No. There's a difference between ignoring and you bringing up and being unhappy that you're not getting what you're asking for.
Exactly.
The board has listened to you. The board has listened to you during public comment, which is what they are supposed to do, and they've taken what you said into consideration, and that's where we are at this point. We have an agenda. It's a non-agenda item, so they can't talk about it. They can't.
But they can make an
do anything
agenda.
related to that. Okay, so it's not going to be an item of discussion.
But you can bring it back. Ms. Saab, make a
I
motion.
understand, but it's not going to be an item of discussion. So, okay, it cannot be. It was public comment.
They don't care what you say. That's what they're saying. This is
Okay.
the third time.
So.
Okay, so the kids are going to be poisoned with this crap?
1 through 83, we're going to pull number 65, so we can talk about that one.
At all?
And, so make a motion
They
to.
go away. You know, let's get
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Morris has moved it, and Ms. Samperi has seconded. Do we have any discussion on items 1 through 83, except for 65?
Okay.
Who you voted for, remember your
Exactly.
district.
Exactly.
It,
All in favor?
they need to be confronted publicly.
Sorry, Jennifer, good night to you.
I'm sorry, Jennifer. So on consent agenda 1 through 85, I'm going to pull 65. And so we had a motion by Ms. 1 through 83, I'm sorry, we pulled 65.
This is
And
totally
so a
ridiculous.
motion by Mr. Morris and a second by Mrs. Samperi. No discussion and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we're going to look at number 65. Which is
We
to
can leave.
authorize-
You guys want to talk about what our
Enter
concerns? We
into
can leave
clinic
right now,
service
right?
agreement with PIA.
Are you going to do this or not?
If you guys don't care about the concerns, how you can be interested in your.
They've
Okay,
been
well-
sitting up there way too long. We need you people up there that actually care.
Okay, so.
We need new board members at the very least. Then we'll fart. Ms. Saab, make a motion.